Welcome to WizeUp. I'm Paul Arthur. I want to talk today about the uprising in Iran. I mean, what is going on there? What's it all about? Will the U.S. intervene? Should they intervene? What's at stake? What's happening with the Christian church in Iran? There's so many things to talk about here. All right, I'm going to jump into this. Before we do, quick reminder to hit subscribe and tell your friends about us as well. Always appreciate that. Our guest today is Pastor Mansour Khajehpour. He is a pastor who was exiled from Iran many years ago. Today he pastors a church at it's in the Seattle, Washington area. It's called the Crossroads at Lake Stevens. Their website is crossroadsls.org. Pastor Mansour, thank you so much for making time for us. I know you're pretty busy these days.
Well, hello to you and peace to your audience, the people who are committed to learn some of the truth through your ministry. Thank you, Paul, for having me over.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your perspective on this because you also oversee hundreds of home churches in Iran. So you know what's going on the ground floor, whereas a lot of times you only hear snippets from the mainstream media. So you have a more accurate picture, I think, of what's happening there. Let's just first of all maybe give a picture to viewers who may not quite understand what's going on there. What are the uprisings all about? What's the driver?
Sure.
What are the driving forces behind this?
So the 47 years of brutality of the Islamic regime in Iran is known to the people of the West. In fact, people in Canada are more familiar, probably, than many Americans with the situation that is happening in Iran, simply because the Canadian government has gotten involved with the politics associated with the extremist terrorist organization that runs the country, known as the IRGC, or the Islamic Republic Guard Corps. And in fact, uh, another reason to that would have been because there are so many Iranians living across Canada in different metropolitan area, and they have been, majority of them very vocal about what is happening in Iran. Uh, so there have been a series of uprisings and protests over the years in Iran that people have cried to God and also asked Western countries such as Canada and the US and European nations and Australia, elsewhere, to help us. Some of those events are better known to the people of the world, such as 3 years ago when we had the major movement of woman life freedom in Iran following the death of an Iranian young woman in the hands of the police because of the brutality of the police. Uh, then it kind of brought a lot of people into the streets, and a lot of people around the world supported that. But at that time, the US administration did not get involved. In fact, it really was so sad to see that Biden administration did not get anywhere involved with that important issue that started with one woman, Mahsa Amini, and then led into the killing of many others. But the US government did not do anything, and some European nations got involved, some more than others, but not much happened. And the uprising was a wrap following a major crackdown by the government. Then people felt disappointed, the people of Iran. We're talking about 92 million population. It's not a small nation. They felt disappointed that a major um, injustice could be put down so quickly like that. We figured, as a nation, we figured that one of the challenges that we had was the lack of a single leadership in leading us, guiding us, helping us to kind of cruise our way as a nation, both those who are in Iran and those who are expatriates like myself, exiled or migrated, or otherwise they live outside the country. So this time, towards the end of 2025, it was in December of 2025, that is in a matter of a couple of months, the inflation in Iran skyrocketed again. The currency value of the nation dropped by 50% in 2 months.
Hmm.
Imagine. That is that is dangerous. That is a normal just a major recipe for a collapse of any regime, right?
Your buying power is cut in half.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
crazy.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And with that comes, by the way, it's more than half,
Mm.
because when the buying power shrinks, then comes with it naturally and normally the inflation of prices
Mm,
of
yes,
goods that you buy too.
yes.
So with that, towards the end of the year 2025, people started complaining, and it started in the marketplace, in the major uh, bazaars, as we call the major shopping centers. And then people started shouting, that's just say, hey, this is not going to work. I sell my products today to bring bread at my table in the evening, but the following morning I cannot purchase the same
Mm.
product that I
Hmm.
sold for
Hmm.
the same price. I have to pay more to buy my own materials. So that kind of, the people felt kind of chewed on. And at that time, people started coming to the streets. And then all of a sudden, in the kind of after 5 days of minor uprisings and minor protests in different parts of the bazaar, then the crown prince of Iran, who has been in an exile for 48 years now, 47 and a half
Wow.
years,
Hmm.
in the US, living in the United States, by the name of Prince Reza Pahlavi, he took the responsibility upon his shoulders to be a part of this movement, not just by rhetorically, but actually, indeed, he stepped forward, he stepped into this, and then for the first time in his life, he called people to come out on Thursday. I think it was
Hmm.
I have to check the date, Thursday and Friday. I know the dates in Farsi calendar. Sorry about that. I should have prepared
Yeah, well,
myself.
that's okay, but it's
Yeah,
very interesting that so the crown prince in exile, you're saying
yes,
was actually probably the main, I guess, spark that got these Iranian
indeed,
folks to rise up and actually protest in the streets. And of
indeed.
course, I mean, it's not just economic pressure, but it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is also just, I guess, people being fed up with the incredible control from a religious theocracy.
Indeed. In fact, it is by all means economical turmoil was just a simple spark,
Hmm.
but the main haystack was something else. So
Okay.
the dates were January 8th and January 9th, Thursday and Friday, the the two weekend evenings in Iran. As people know, Friday is the holy day in Muslim
Right.
nations in the Middle East. Therefore, Friday and Thursday are equal to our Saturdays and Sundays. So he called for protests on Thursday and Friday, January 8 and 9, and then millions of people came out into the streets.
Yeah, these are
Now,
massive protests. These are not a
big
small
protests,
things.
big protests, in my town. I'm coming from the northeast part of Iran, the very famous among Iranians and Muslims Shiite center, Mashhad. Literally, the name of my city means the place of martyrdom.
Wow.
They
Okay.
were who supposed to be the most religious people, the most uh, fanatic people. They are fed up because they have learned that over the past 47 years, they were killed by the hands of the government that they brought into power. And
Yeah.
it
How
is,
many, let me ask you, I mean, how many
sure,
people are being killed? We're hearing different reports. Initially
right.
it was, I remember, it was a few hundred people, and then reports started coming out that, well, actually, more like 2,000. And then I'm hearing other reports saying it's more like 20,000. What is the accurate
So
report on that?
the first study of the first 2 nights was done by a media outlet based in London called Iran International.
Hmm.
Iran International did a thorough study with the people on the ground, the foot on the ground, and came up with the approximate number of 12,000 people being killed. That number, a few days after that, by CBS News, was confirmed as 20,000.
Wow.
All of a sudden, we have a conflicting number. Which one is correct, 12 or 20? All of them are too many. One too many.
Yeah,
But
of course.
we're talking about other independent media outlets started studying this. Now, the government of Iran realized that, oh, it is slipping out of their hands. What should we do? They have the habit, they have learned this over the past 4 decades, to conceal truth. But nowadays, because of the availability of cell phones at the hands of everyone, and also uh, methods such as Starlink, they realized that, oh, the news is leaking out. So they jammed all the internet signals. And
Yeah.
then they realized that there is Starlink. They jammed Starlink signals
Hmm.
too. So, but then people started finding other methods, such as driving to either corners of the country, getting close to the international borders, and
Hmm.
using signals from other nations and sending
Right.
messages out.
Right.
So the government, this 12 days ago, decided to shut down all the telephone lines.
Hmm.
Paul, imagine
So,
putting a
so at this
country
point,
into.
I mean, this affects business, the economy, everything. How do you communicate if you can't use your
You
phones?
can't. This morning, after 12 days of trying and trying and trying and trying, I was able to speak with one member of one of the house churches we have in the country.
Oh
And
man.
I told her, have you been able to contact other people? She said, the only person that I saw in the 12 days was the one that I walked for hours to their home
Wow.
and visited them in person because telephone lines
Okay.
are completely shut down. There is no
How is this
telephone
affecting
communication.
like food, medical
You
aid?
betcha.
Can
All
people
of
go
the
see
above.
their doctors, whatever? You know. I
All of
mean,
the, I mean, it is not a catastrophe yet, but because, uh, the government put after the initial mass
yeah.
crackdown, they put a curfew in effect. So
Okay.
nobody is allowed to come in the evenings, but there are materials in the stores, etc. Those that are open in some parts of the country. For example, in the northern part of Iran, by the Caspian Sea, there is a province called Gilan, Gilan. The capital of Gilan is the city of Rasht, Rasht. I I want to spell this out for people if they want to
Yeah.
dig through the internet. The entire bazaar was burned and destroyed and closed by the government, not by the people, by the
Hmm.
government. Of course, the people of Iran, they out of their frustration,
Yeah.
they burned places that military and paramilitary organizations
Hmm.
camped at,
Hmm.
mosques,
Yeah.
etc. But not the marketplace, not the houses. It was the government, and we have the proof for that. So
Yeah. There's
now, in places like Rasht, it is more difficult than metropolitan and major cities like Tehran.
okay.
So, uh,
But some very, very. This is affecting just everyday people in Iran in a very serious way. You sent me, emailed me. I think it was something from Instagram, a social media post,
yes,
but it just brought me to tears. It was, this montage of, hundreds of faces, smiling, beautiful faces, young and old, people who have been killed in the protests, and it just hits home. You go like, this is somebody's daughter, somebody's son, somebody's grandfather, and their names being read off, just being one after the other. And of course, that's just a snippet there. And you had mentioned that you could see some of the pictures. The individuals are wearing a cross.
yes.
So these are Christians who were killed in this as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Last week, Sean Hannity had an interview with Mark Levin, and in the conversation that he had, I will also share that link with you at a later time.
Sure.
Uh, there is a great and um, enthusiastic amount of information that is shared in that 4 minutes video, and I will share that with you. But then
Okay.
that is just words and emotional and enthusiastic and wonderful, wonderful words of being shared. But one thing that was missing is to put faces and names together. In this 1.5 minute clip that I would like you, if it is possible for you, Paul, to share that with your audience, in a minute and a half, in 90 seconds, you will see and hear the name of 184 of the 20,000 people that the person and the team who montaged and put together this, they have compiled together. He said this is part one. There are many more parts are
Yeah,
coming.
and,
Now,
and you and
as
you
I
you had
watched
mentioned it was actually put together by a Muslim man, not a Christian
by a
man.
Muslim man,
You,
exactly,
you know, I mean,
or born as a Muslim.
every one of these is, you know, these people are precious.
Yeah.
Are you hearing? I mean, there's talk about secret executions taking place now. I know they backed off, you know, with some pressure from President Trump in the U.S. there.
That's what the president of the United States, President Trump, said. President Trump thanked the Supreme Leader for canceling 800 executions. But then immediately, within hours, immediately after that, the Supreme Leader rejected that, said no. And then the AG of the nation, he came, and we have that. We have all those recorded. He came on the big screens and he said that there is no way. And he called the President Trump wrong and stupid. And he said, no, we're not going to listen to the President of the United States. We are going to take action against all of these.
So there are in fact
He called.
executions happening,
Oh, no,
probably as we
here
speak.
is, yes,
Okay. Okay.
here's something. There was a man in the execution line by the name of Mehdi Irfan. He was supposed to be killed 2 weeks ago. There was international pressure. The government said we're not going to execute him. They didn't. But he was killed in the prison last week.
Yeah.
I don't want to accuse the government of Iran because I want to be a liar. Why? Because my father-in-law, my own father-in-law, when he was the general secretary of the Bible Society of Iran prior to February of 1990, after many times that he was in the infamous prison called Evin prison,
Yeah.
the last time as a general secretary of an international organization, they could not put a lot of pressure on him. Everything that they were doing on him was in the public news back then. Then they told him, Reverend Sepehri, we are going to release you. You're going home now. But you don't know if there is a reckless semi-truck driver in the streets running over your car. We will be so sorry for you on that day. Or we might come to your home for a normal check and we might find a bag of heroin in your place, which carries death penalty. So
Yeah.
this government is known to us. With brutality, in 1993, they killed the Reverend Mikhailian, the Reverend Divash, the Reverend Haik Hovsepian, three of them in their cold blood. And they
Yeah.
said it was not us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, this is clearly just a brutal regime, and it's obvious with the uprising that we're seeing here against so many young people in this
Yes.
uprising as well. And so the people are desperate for change, for some freedom, not just economically, but also, again, freedom from this, you know, religious oppression from the extremist Muslim leaders here. So what are the options here? Now, I guess the question is, should the U.S. intervene? Will they? President Trump has talked about this. So are you hearing anything one way or the other with this?
So the should is not mine to say. The president has his own advisors and makes his own decision, but the invitation according to the Bible is there. Esther 4:14 through 16 is the clear indication. in a situation that the people of God were said to be
Hmm.
murdered in a large number and being annihilated from the
Hmm.
face of the earth. In Persia, in the ancient Iran, by the
Yeah.
way, the ancient king of Iran listened to the Jewish queen, Queen Esther, who was led by the Holy Spirit to say
Hmm.
this, that you know what? Through Mordecai, they said, the freedom will come to the people of to my people, but you will not have any portion in it. This was an opportunity to
Hmm.
Xerxes to be a part of God's freedom, and he listened to God, and he
Hmm.
was a part of God's freedom
Okay.
against Haman.
And,
Now,
and, and
here
any
is the opportunity for
yeah.
the President Trump and
Yeah.
also other Western societies to get involved in any
Hmm.
and many ways. Otherwise, God will bring freedom to Iran through another way, and your name will
Interesting.
go down the history
Yeah, yeah. You know,
as not
my
being a part
sense,
of
I mean,
it.
I could be wrong, but my sense is that he is going to do something.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes.
I'll be watching with interest over the next number of
Yes.
days and
Yeah.
weeks
No,
and
you will.
months ahead. I'm not sure how long this takes. I mean, it's just like, how do you fix something like this, right? So I hear rumblings of a power struggle with top Iranian officials, right? You have
Yes.
the Ali Khamenei, who's he's old, 87 or something like that, so
Yeah.
he could drop
Yeah.
dead any time. If he isn't assassinated, who knows? We'll see what happens. But then who fills that gap, right? I mean, perhaps again, maybe it's the crown prince who somehow comes into power. Who knows? But there's a. Is it true? There's a battle between the hardline element of the leadership and then the others who are a little more moderate.
So first and foremost, we have to remember that the president of Iran, Pezeshkian,
Yeah.
yesterday morning, Iran's time, said something that is important for us to know. He said any attempt to assassinate the supreme leader, Khamenei, of Iran will be considered as an act of war against the
Right.
nation.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, the US president and other people like Benjamin Netanyahu and others are putting this into the kind of the perspective as they are planning their next move. But I think my prayer is, of course, as a Christian pastor, my prayer is for peaceful transition of power. That would be preferred, right? But let me ask you this, which leads me to the next point. In the past 1400 years of Islamic dominance
Hmm.
in the Middle East,
Yeah.
show me one nation or one battle that the Muslim army, the Islamic army, stepped down out of power peacefully. They don't. They
Yeah.
don't.
Pretty
Why?
unlikely.
Because in
Yeah.
their
Pretty unlikely.
mentality, they say, if I kill, I'm a victor. If I'm killed,
Yeah.
I'm a victor. And
And
there you go.
and you speak from personal experience as well. I understand that when you were just a teenager,
Right?
you were Muslim and you were passionate about it. You intended to burn down a church. You
Absolutely.
wanted to be part of this, revolution.
Which,
But now, of course, you've encountered the living God, Jesus
praise
Christ,
the
and
Lord.
your life has been changed. But but that mindset is there within the extreme, Shiite, or leadership here, and that's not likely to change.
The nature.
Although we
Yeah.
are seeing some salvations even amongst some of the most extreme terrorists. I'm
The
hearing some
Iranian
interesting
ambassador
reports.
to the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations in Europe stepped down from his office and is seeking asylum in Switzerland.
Was
What
this
does that mean?
just recent now, or?
Just recently,
Oh
last
wow,
week.
okay.
So when things like that happen, that means, or the other side, the supreme leader's son, right in the midst of these past 2 weeks of protests, he transferred $1.2 billion out of Iran.
Wow.
Why is that? Why is that?
So that's very interesting because you do the math here, and okay, so some people say, well, this uprising is going to be stopped because people are killed and they back off.
No,
But is this one different? Is this one going to
it is
continue? Do you
different.
think do
It
you
is. It
think
is
this
going to
regime is
continue.
going to fall?
It is continue. It will continue. The Involvement of the United States Army, Israel, other nations into this can expedite the process and make it a more faster, a much faster
Hmm.
process of transition of power. Now, the beauty of this time, Paul, is that we have a different type of motivation behind this movement.
Okay.
In the previous movements, the fact that people were in the streets seeking political kind of liberty, it was a reformation type of movement that they were looking. But the slogans in the streets these days are different. They are going after the kind of ancestral religion. There are
Hmm.
many slogans that people shout in the streets against not just the economical situation, but the persons like Khamenei himself. They just shout death to Khamenei every day, and
Wow.
they
So
are
that's I mean, they're taking their life into their hands, literally. So,
the
like
over
30 seconds to wrap up here. What are your
sure.
thoughts here? How should we respond as the global church?
Pray, provide. There is a lot of people
Okay.
who are killed, and they need your finances. Please pray with the people of Iran. Provide for the people of Iran, and proclaim or advocate for them. Talk to your governments. Talk to your
Okay.
elected officers, and ask them to get involved.
Okay. I wish we had more time. Maybe we'll have to do a part two to this. Well, we'll see what happens over the next few weeks here.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Pastor Mansour Khajehpour. Again, crossroadsls.org. Yes, please pray for the peace of Iran here, the precious church to have courage and just favor wherever they go. I'm out of time here. Thank you for watching WizeUp.ca. God bless.